All right, hey everyone, are you ready to dive deep into some cloud computing? Because today we're all about getting you prepped for the HCIA Cloud Computing V5.5 exam.
That's right, and that's the H13 511 V5.5 ENU for those who like codes.
Exactly, and we've got some practice questions pulled straight from the source. We're not just going to give you the answers, we're going to break down the why behind them.
It's like having a cheat sheet, but way more fun.
I like that analogy, a friend cheat sheet. And joining me today is an actual cloud computing expert. They've got all the skills and knowledge to help you totally conquer this exam.
Well, let's just say I've spent a lot of time exploring cloud computing, and I'm ready to share what I know.
Awesome. So before we jump into the practice questions, can you give us a quick overview of what this exam is all about?
Absolutely. So, the HCIA Cloud Computing V5.5 exam, or H13 511 V5.5 ENU, is all about testing your foundational knowledge of Huawei cloud solutions. The exam is usually about 90 minutes long with around 60 questions, and you need to get at least 600 out of 1,000 points to pass. But keep in mind, these can change a little bit from exam to exam. The important thing is to make sure you really understand the core concepts.
That makes sense. Focus on the big picture, not the small details.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the big picture, let's dive into our first practice question. Imagine you are a manager. You're trying to keep those virtual conferences running smoothly. You need to make sure people aren't sharing audio during those confidential meetings. Here's a question. On Fusion Access, if a manager wants to prohibit users from sharing audio during important virtual conferences, which configuration is recommended? And here are your options. A disable clipboard redirection, B disable audio redirection, C disable USB device redirection, or D disable camera redirection. What do you think and why?
This is a perfect example of how understanding the technology behind it is key to getting these questions right.
So let's break it down then. Clipboard redirection, that's all about copy and pasting between your device and the virtual desktop, right?
Exactly. And USB redirection, that's all about letting you use your USB devices in the virtual environment. And then you've got camera redirection, which controls webcam access.
So if we use process of elimination, the answer has to be B, disable audio redirection. But can you walk us through what audio redirection actually is and why disabling it is the right move here?
So think of audio redirection like a bridge between your physical microphone and speakers and that virtual environment. When you disable it, you are basically cutting off that bridge, which means no audio can be shared from the user's side. This is really important for security and privacy, especially in those confidential virtual conferences.
Makes total sense. It's like a mute button for the entire virtual desktop. Okay, let's move on to another common challenge. Performance issues. Imagine a user calls you up. They're super frustrated because their Fusion Access desktop is running super slow. The question is, a user reports performance degradation in a Fusion Access desktop due to insufficient CPU resources. Which action is most appropriate? Here are your options. A, delete the desktop and deploy a new one. B, migrate the desktop to a backup server. C, modify the desktop specifications. Or D, upgrade the desktop license to VIP. What's the quickest fix?
While those other options might seem tempting, you want to go with the most efficient solution. Deleting and redeploying a desktop is a bit much, don't you think? Migrating it to a backup server might not actually fix the problem of not having enough CPU. And upgrading the license to VIP, well, that might be a bit overkill.
So you're thinking C, modify the desktop specifications, but how do you actually do that in Fusion Access?
In Fusion Access, you can actually adjust the CPU and RAM that each virtual desktop gets. It's all about finding the sweet spot, enough resources to keep things running smoothly, but not overload the system.
So you have to balance the user needs and the system health. Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about data management, which is so important in cloud computing. So here's the scenario. In Fusion Access, what action does the system automatically take when backup storage reaches capacity limits? Here are your choices. A, deletes all existing backup data immediately. B, removes backup data created within the past 5 days. C, deletes the most recently created backup data. Or D, deletes the oldest available backup data. Think about this one for a second, everyone. What makes the most sense for a system that's all about protecting your data?
This question really gets to the core of how Fusion Access does backups. Option A, deleting all your backups. That would be a disaster. Option B, removing backups from the past 5 days seems a bit random. And option C, deleting the newest backup. That means losing your most up-to-date copy.
So we are left with D, then deleting the oldest backup data. It's like a first-in, first-out system for your backups, right?
You got it. The system keeps your most recent backups, so you always have a pretty recent copy of your data just in case something happens.
That makes a lot of sense. Always got to have that safety net. But why is this continuous backup feature so important in the first place?
It all boils down to data security and recovery. Imagine the worst happens, a system crash or your data gets corrupted. Having those backups means you can basically go back in time and restore your system to how it was before, and that minimizes data loss and downtime.
It's like a time machine for your data you can rewind to before the disaster struck.
Okay, let's move on to another crucial part of cloud computing: security. Here's the question. To strictly control network access based on user identity, which VLAN assignment method is recommended? Your options are A, interface-based assignment; B, IP subnet-based assignment; C, MS address-based assignment; or D, protocol-based assignment. So which one is the most secure way to do this? This question shows just how important identity-driven security is in cloud computing. So, with interface-based assignment, you link VLANs to physical ports. That's not flexible enough. IP subnet-based assignment is too broad. It doesn't really focus on individuals. And protocol-based assignment focuses on traffic types, not users.
So you're saying the answer is C, MAC address-based assignment. Why is that the most secure option?
Well, with MAC address-based assignment, you're linking VLANs to the MAC address of each device. Think of a MAC address like a fingerprint for your device. By tying the VLANs to those unique identifiers, you're creating a super secure environment where access is granted based on the device, and therefore the authorized user.
I'm starting to understand how important this level of control is in a virtual environment. It's not just about who you are, but also what device you're using. Okay, last question for this part. It's all about the core of networking. The question is, which elements are essential components of complete route information? Your choices are a next hop IP address, B, destination network address, C, destination subnet mask, and D, source MAC address. You can pick more than one answer here, so choose wisely.
This question is all about understanding how networks actually send traffic to the right place. So to do this, a router needs three main things: the destination network address and its subnet mask. Think of those like the address and zip code of the network you're trying to reach.
So that would be B and C then. What about A, the next hop IP address?
That's the third piece of the puzzle. The next hop IP address tells the router where to send the traffic next, kind of like a step-by-step guide towards its final destination.
It's like a map with directions for the traffic. But what about D, the source MAC address? Why don't we need that?
Ugh, that's a really common misunderstanding. The source MAC address is important for communicating within a local network, but not for routing decisions. It's like sending a letter. The destination address and zip code are important, and the next hop tells the post office where to send it next. The sender's address doesn't matter once the letter is on its way.
I like that. A good way to explain it. So the right answers are A, B, and C. Now that you've had a taste of Fusion Access, what other cloud technologies are you interested in? What do you think the future of cloud computing holds? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy clouding.